Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the very first episode of America First Insight Unfiltered, the podcast where we're going to dive deep into politics, culture, and everything that matters to patriots like you. We're your hosts, Mark and Real American Politics, and we're here to bring you the unfiltered truth without compromise. Real, why don't you go ahead, give yourself a little introduction?
Well, hello everybody. My name is Real American Politics. You call me Real Political Data. I go by a lot of names now. The long story short, you can call me Real American Politics. Real American doesn't really matter. And I'm glad to be here with Mark to actually host this podcast. So you can also follow me on Twitter at Real Political Data, and of course Real American Politics on YouTube. Just gotta do the general shilling before we start. So.
Of course. My name is Mark. I'm one of the co-founders of America First Insight. If you haven't heard of the website, but you're somehow here, congrats. Go to my website, www.americafirstinsight.com. We have all sorts of stuff, election data, scorecards, endorsements, a lot of stuff, and a nice store that maybe you can go buy stuff from so we can have money so we can continue doing this podcast. So, this podcast, America First Insight Unfiltered, we're looking for it to hopefully be a weekly little podcast. We're going to talk politics and a lot of it. And yeah, it's going to be mostly me and Real and whatever guest people we can get on. So yeah, that's basically it. And well, as we're recording this, it's January 2nd, 2025. A lot of stuff has happened, but a lot more stuff is going to happen. And I think the first thing we're kind of going to talk about is our predictions on the speaker vote that will either be chaos or not. So, how do you feel about the upcoming speaker vote?
I'm expecting this to go like 30 rounds. I just got this gut feeling. It's either gonna go one round to be done, or we're gonna be here for like 3 months or something crazy like that. I got that gut feeling. It's not gonna be we're done in 5 minutes thing. No, we're gonna be here for 3 months because a bunch of people have egos. And they want to screw Trump over. That's what it comes down to. A lot of these people, the majority of them, they're doing it not because of policy or what they, whatever they care about. It's like, no, they're doing it to spite Trump. That's a reality of it. Now, people like Thomas Massie and a few others, they have legitimate reasons it beefs with Johnson. But you look at people like Chip Roy, what's his excuse, for opposing Johnson? I'm not even saying Johnson's like the best option, but honestly, who else could get the votes right now? Honestly,
I agree with you on that. Like, Johnson already came out of nowhere to become speaker after the Kevin McCarthy situation. I think the only a couple other people could even potentially have the votes. Kevin Hearn, maybe Byron Donalds or Jim Jordan, now that like some of his opposition is gone, but those guys would only get it because Trump would endorse them for the speaker. But Trump obviously is still back in Johnson, but I think we only have one hard confirmed no on Johnson, and that's Massie right now.
Yeah, that's Thomas Massie, but it sounds like it's up to 6 Republicans, which we can afford to lose, what, 2?
I think it's 2 because Matt Gaetz' seat won't be filled, and he's not there for the speaker vote. So it's either 2 or 3. Chip Roy says he claims he's still undecided.
He's full of it.
And then he also suggested that Andy Biggs, Andy Harris are also both leaning towards no. Victoria Spartz, she has also claimed she's undecided, but she has also said she is actually talking to Mike Johnson, so hopefully that gets resolved. She's a bit schizophrenic with her takes and everything.
Yeah, I mean, for those that don't know, just 2 years ago, she was one of the biggest Ukraine shills. Now, out of nowhere, she's like this MAGA patriot, and basically she said that whatever Thomas Massie does, she's going to do the same thing. So, if Massie votes against Johnson, I'm going to assume she's going to vote against Johnson or vote president or whatever. That's Victoria Spartz now, and that's the problem Johnson has. He can afford 2 defections. Mm-hmm. Right now, there's like 6.
Yeah, so he needs to, he's going to have to probably talk to Andy Harris and Andy Biggs, because I think those guys, I mean, their House Freedom Caucus, they're able to be convinced, I think. I trust them. They both have really good voting records. So I believe those two are doing it purely based on, hey, we would like some concessions to the House Freedom Caucus. We do have the leverage we can push right now. Other individuals are not doing that so much. Massey voted for Kevin McCarthy for every single round instead of trying to get stuff out of McCarthy, and now he's not going to vote for Johnson. So that's all I'm going to say on,
You
on
know,
Massey right now.
with Massey, I think he has like legitimate reasons. He has that weird like schizo-libertarian philosophy where, I mean, he is consistent on it, but it just like, where was this during McCarthy's stuff? Where was he?
Exactly.
Uh, you know,
He shilled the hell out of McCarthy, and he was really pissed when they went to motion to vacate. And I fully disagree. I don't think Johnson was the best speaker ever. I think he could have used the continuing resolutions as a lot more leverage, but even by our own rankings at America First Insight, he is objectively better than Kevin McCarthy.
which is not really saying much, but I'm just honest. Like, Mike Johnson's better, but it's like, if someone could find
The
me
bar
someone
was
that could
low.
get the votes, yeah. If you could find someone that could get the votes, and I'm not talking about Don Bacon or someone like that. I'm talking about like someone decent like Jim Jordan, like Byron Donalds, Kevin Hearn, which I think those two, Johnson and Donalds and Hearn, I think they could maybe get the votes, but I still don't know. I mean,
I
you
think
still got people.
Hearn would have an easier time. Hearn just won. He's, I think, a policy chair for the GOP House, so
Yes.
he has general support. I don't think Donalds would want to do it, even though I think Trump would be cool with it, because Donalds is probably running for governor.
He's
So I
running.
think he's gonna be way too busy. He's not gonna have time to be speaker and running for governor. So yeah, and I mean, Jordan might have a chance now, because what really killed Jordan running was all the New York Republicans who really wanted the SALT taxes being dealt with. Most of those guys now are unemployed, and also out of nowhere, Kay Granger was like, "I'll never vote for Jordan," and it's like, okay, thank you, but she's also not in office anymore. So
Well, she's literally in a retirement home right now. So I mean, the fact that we had Republicans like that vote against Jordan, like I can understand people like Lawler. I mean, they were in a very competitive seat, but it's like some of the Republicans were like Trump plus 30 seats, and they're voting against Jordan. And I'm not saying Jordan was the best option either. Just like these people had no valid reason, and it's like, why? Why vote against Jordan, but you shill for McCarthy? It just to me never made sense.
And no, it never did. It was, I mean, most politics happens behind closed doors. So I don't know if like Jordan is not friendly with a lot of people or what, but it is what it is for Jordan.
Well, apparently the rumor was McCarthy was sinking his candidacy. That was a rumor.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that.
Which I cannot confirm. That was the big topic like a year ago. That was McCarthy's doing. That's why Jordan did not get the votes.
I believe it personally, just because McCarthy, I think McCarthy still thought he had a chance.
Oh,
And he kept sinking people, and the only reason Mike Johnson got put up is everyone was so sick and tired of it. They just said the first person who isn't schizophrenic we'll just take at that point. I'm done. Everyone was done with it, and Mike Johnson happened to be that next person out of nowhere.
Yeah, McCarthy was sinking people on purpose, which should tell you everything about the guy. And I'm glad that Trump stayed away from him for the chief of staff.
Yeah,
But
that
that's
was
like,
such a terrifying rumor. I would have hated that so much.
can you imagine that, him chief of staff making all those picks? Oh, good lord, we'd be in deep trouble if he was a chief of staff. But thankfully, he's not. He's gonna be probably out of politics for a while, I'm guessing.
I think so. I think he'll just go around, try and fundraise and primary out some more House Freedom Caucus people as revenge. But every year you're out of politics, your donors care less and less about you. So I don't think he'll be able to accomplish much.
Yeah, the guy he killed his own career. All he had to do was just do even half of the stuff he promised to do, and he would have been fine. Just even 25%. I mean, did he do a single thing as speaker that was actually good?
It depends which side of the aisle you're on, but for America First, no, he didn't do anything good, and also the bad part is he thought that the Democrats would bail him out.
Yeah,
it came as a shock to him that all the Dems were like, we're not going to get involved, and it's a bad sign when you think you have to rely on Democrats or something like that. That's another reason that like the most recent continuing resolution was so disappointing is it relied on Democrats to bail out what should be a GOP thing. But it is what it is. Hopefully it gets fixed at some
now
point
these
under
idiots,
the Trump.
They have no excuse now because Trump's president. He has a mandate. He can do whatever he wants. So if they can't accomplish this now with Trump in the White House, it's like, okay, we need to clean house completely. All these people got to go. And probably start with Johnson. If Johnson fails the next 2 years, he's done. I don't see how he comes back from that.
Yeah, I don't even think Johnson 100% ever wants to be speaker. I think he just kind of takes it as a job, I mean, I'm sure that was probably a very interesting day for him when he woke up, and then by the end of it, he was the next Speaker of the House. I don't think that was really planned on being his new life path, but he's adapted pretty well to it.
Well, he tried. To me, Johnson always seems like a guy that's better behind the scenes. Behind closed doors, he's not actually the one negotiating stuff, but actually writing policy.
Yeah, he was definitely a big backseat person who had a decent score. Before he was speaker, he was a C plus on the scorecard, which if you're unfamiliar with our scorecard, it is ridiculously harsh because I think, there are just some defaults votes every Republican should do. So our scorecard more or less differentiates who's a normal Republican and who's an America First Republican. So even being at a C is respectable most of the time. Those people don't deserve primaries. It's mostly half of the caucus who's in F tier that deserves a primary.
I mean, the fact that you're not lying about that is really, that's the majority we got. Half of them are an F.
Yeah, I mean, for example, look at the state of Iowa. Every single congressional person in the state of Iowa, despite it being an R13 state now, has this same score as Don Bacon and Brian Fitzpatrick, who are both in Democrat seats. That's just not how that should work at all.
That is insane. But that's the Republican Party.
It is. It's a slow burn. All the freshmen from 2022, I think almost all of them, or at least a large portion of them, are at least C. And I expect most, if not all, the freshmen this year to also be at least C, which is good because that means we're pushing forward towards a better party over time, at least.
Yeah, and that's one positive from this election. We got rid of a lot of shit Republicans. I mean, let's be honest. Who of all the Republicans that lost, were any of them really that good?
No, not at all. There are some that I'm a bit sad to see. California, the one where Derek Tran won or whatever. I forgot which.
Garcia seat?
Not the Garcia seat. It was the other one,
Steele?
I think. Yeah, Steele. Steele was a bit sad, and Garcia was also sad. But Garcia was out of political time 4 years ago, and I don't know how he kept winning.
Well, because people kept saying he was going to lose, and then they just kept winning by more. But this time, no one said he was going to lose, and he actually lost.
And then I still can't believe we lost. Duarte lost, because that seat swung to be a Trump plus 6 seat. And if you don't know, Duarte was the worst rated Republican of the 118th Congress. He was the only Republican, I think, with an F- grade. And for all the bipartisan, moderate stuff he did, he loses a Trump plus 6 seat.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
The seat voted against gay marriage, for crying out loud.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. He lost that. That biggest loser of the cycle, really.
For those that don't know, that's that's the Central Valley of California. That's a very Hispanic working class area. And they voted for Trump. Did not vote for the moderate, electable conservative in Duarte. They didn't. They voted for Trump. So that should tell you everything about these moderate Republicans. They're not electable. They're not. Like some circumstances like Don Bacon, yeah. But in these working class areas that swung towards the GOP, you need someone that's similar to Trump on the issues to win these areas. And it's clear that Duarte types, they might win in midterms, but they can't win in presidential years.
Yeah, no, you're 100% correct. His biggest issue is, and a big issue for a lot of those moderates in close seats, is that they run away from Trump, which is which is bad. Bacon, Fitzpatrick, and whatnot, they're in Democrat seats by a decent chunk. Actually, I think Fitzpatrick might not be as Democrat as it used to be.
It was like +1, I think, for Harris. It was not
Plus one.
It was
All
not
right.
that big of a gap.
All right, but Bacon is probably the best example right now. Then, as one of the ever so fewer Dem GOP seats, is his seat is so Democrat that he does need to focus on being like a moderate bipartisan. But then you have people like Miller Meeks in the southeast corner of Iowa or whatever. She barely won, and her seat's like Trump +9. It's crazy. And she ran away from Trump on a lot of issues. She was like one of the lower F tier people.
Yeah, she ran as the, and you notice a trend here. She ran as the moderate, Trump skeptic Republican, and she nearly lost in a Trump +9 seat. So there's like maybe 2 or 3 Harris Republican seats now from 2024.
There's not many remaining, and they're gonna keep disappearing.
How many? But compare that to Trump Democrat seats. There's like 20 of them.
Yeah,
I'm exaggerating.
There's quite a few of those still running around.
So it's like the Democrat Party, they did not do as bad in 24 because Republicans just sucked. They ran crap candidates, not because they're MAGA, because they're the opposite. The Republican Party, I don't think, has learned that lesson yet that, oh, wait, you can't just run these moderate Miller Meek types everywhere and expect to win. Don Bacon types make sense in Omaha, but do you think that makes sense in eastern Iowa to run those same type of Republicans?
Yeah, no, you're 100% correct. I mean, sorry. Look at all the New York Republicans who all stayed moderate, and it was the best possible year for New York Republicans that we've had in a very long time, and it didn't matter to them. A couple of those guys could have won. I think they kind of aligned themselves more with Trump, because Trump did really well on the whole, all the Long Island congressional seats, but we kind of got swamped there. And we also have another issue is we have all these rental freshmen. Some of those guys, who was it? The New York 22nd guy who got redistricted into a D+9 seat. It was over for him. If you're going to be put in that position as a freshman, you might as well just go out guns blazing and pushing our agenda, rather than sitting there being a moderate, because it doesn't matter. You're done.
Well, Democrats
you
do all the
lost.
time. The Democrats do that all the time. Even when they're in R+30 seats, they think they can still win. They still run as partisans. Republicans, though, they just think you have to be this moderate all the time. It doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean, you can act moderate on the ads. Look at Pelto, the Alaska Democrat woman.
Mary
I
Peltola.
always mispronounce her name, Mary. I'll just say, she's still she votes about the same as every other Democrat. There's a couple of things involving guns, sort of, that she occasionally breaks on, but even then, she still effectively was like every other Democrat, but her ads portrayed her as a moderate, and she, almost won again. She only lost by 3 points. But still, that's what the GOP needs to be doing. It needs to be telling these guys that, hey, no one actually looks at your voting record that much except primary voters. Just go ahead, vote for the GOP itself, advertise you vote with Trump and everyone to Republicans via mailers, and then, play up oh, I'm a nice suburban dad or whatever in your ads, because that's where people really care, because then you get the best of both worlds.
You're 100% right. I just don't get why Republicans have not figured that out yet. But
terrible consultants, that's why.
I guess that's part of it. I mean, these consultants, they get paid how much money a year?
How much? As someone checking out and getting into the consultant business, I have already priced out. You can make a lot off of one person, and I'm charging very cheap. So
this is ridiculous. They spend billions, probably. I'm not even exaggerating. Probably billions of dollars for these consultants. They do nothing all year. It's like, why? Why the Republican Party? They have the consultants that don't do anything. But Democrats, they never have these consultants getting paid except the Harris campaign, like hundreds of millions of dollars. The Harris campaign was the first one to actually have these consultants and all that crap, and well, that worked well for them.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, why Republicans do that, I don't know. These consultants are worthless. They do nothing all day, except collect a paycheck.
No, you're right. And we also have another issue there is if you go to the website Open Secrets and start perusing like R plus 30 districts, you're going to see Republicans who are running for re-election. They're like a 9-term congressman or whatever. And they raise and spend like $5 million on re-election in like rural Alabama against a Democrat opponent who spends like $10,000. And you're like, dude, we as a party really need to figure out how to condense our money and put it where it belongs. House Freedom Caucus is not also exempt of this. House Freedom Caucus has a House Freedom Fund pact, and that pact is terrible at spending money where it matters. You know, I think like MTG still got a bunch of money despite her district, while Scott Perry, you know, he kind of almost lost, which would be heartbreaking. And it's because they're terrible with money in that sense.
Yeah, that's the Republican Party. Even the Freedom Caucus, that what is it called, the Freedom Fund or whatever?
Yeah, it's like the House Freedom Fund.
Yeah, it's the biggest pile of crap ever. I don't know where the money goes. It just vanishes, just like every other of these packs.
You know, that's why House Freedom Caucus also struggles to win over like a bunch of open seats. You know, the only new House Freedom Caucus guys we're going to get were Trump endorsed. And there were several seats where we easily could have gotten like an extra House Freedom Caucus type guy, but they themselves are really bad at spending money. And I mean, mainstream Republicans or Main Street Republicans are too. They're really bad at spending it. It's just they have a lot more, so they can kind of bypass that issue. But there are so many, especially rural southern seats where we have millions of dollars going against a Democrat who spends like $10,000, and it's like, dude, there are seats that so desperately could use the money instead of you. But it's ridiculous.
That's a money laundering in the GOP.
Yeah, it goes to their cousin or whatever who's the consultant, and they make the money, and then it kind of feeds back. Also, they can then go insider trade.
Well, yeah, and that's like Mullen, for example. Like Mark Wayne Mullen, yeah. He totally is not rich, everyone, but he makes what's net worth like $100 million now.
Something like that.
It's a ridiculous amount. It's like these people that somehow always the money goes back in their bank accounts by some miracle. I don't know how, but it always ends up in their pockets by some miracle. Just makes you really wonder how.
Yeah, no, the whole GOP in that sense electorally is so messed up. Where we spend our money, we have the same issue even with Senate seats, but hopefully with Thune kind of now being in charge, that issue goes away. I can hope, because McConnell was pretty notoriously bad at spending Senate funds or getting donations to the wrong people. I still stand by it. Larry Hogan should have never gotten a single cent from
that was the dumbest
anywhere.
thing ever.
He should have raised the money and then given it to any of the Rust Belt guys who actually had a chance of winning.
How many lost by what? I think it was 10,000 votes.
Something ridiculously small.
Rogers, I think, was like 5,000 or something. It's like, I know it's not, but just imagine like just $1 million in Michigan, $1 million in Wisconsin. That could be the difference between having 2 extra Senate seats.
Yep, and then go back to 2022. McConnell goes ahead, gives Murkowski $9 million, and then we lose the Nevada Senate seat by like 5,000 votes or whatever.
Yeah.
You can easily, with $9 million, get a few thousand extra people to the polls and win. But
yeah, in Nevada especially, it's not a big state. So
yeah, it's not.
That's Republicans' biggest problem. That and also redistricting, which that's a whole other can of worms. But
yeah, maybe we'll do an episode on redistricting at some point.
Redistricting is bad, but yeah, the Republican fundraising is just they got to get that in order. They won 2024, but that was because of Trump. That's the only reason these idiots won, and I don't think they realize that. They really think, yeah, this was actually a red wave. No, this is a Trump wave. What Trump 100%. Did in 24, it was a Trump wave. There's like 2 or 3 House seats that voted for Harris but voted Republican down ballot, and there's like 20 Trump Democrat seats.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, what is that really? if it wasn't for Trump, Democrats probably would have kept the House easily, or they wouldn't have. They would have, I should say.
100%, and they would have probably done pretty well in the Senate.
They probably have 49, probably.
It depends. It's always hard to gauge those because the number of overperformance by a lot of those incumbents, it's a question of whether they really overperformed by that number or if they just kind of have a floor base over there with like Brown and what's his face? Tester. I already forget them. They're meaningless now.
Well, Tester would have lost, I think, but
I think he still would have. Maybe Brown. It would have been closer. I feel like
if McCormick would have lost, though, he would have lost 100%.
Almost certainly, yeah, definitely. And then all the Rust Belt seats wouldn't have been nowhere near as close. You have Trump performing the best numbers for a GOP candidate since '88, and our Senate result was good, but most of that Senate result was really just the map that was in play, and our House result was pretty atrocious for what we should have gotten.
If it was a real red wave, we should have had probably 55 in the Senate and probably like 230 in the House at the bare minimum.
Yeah. Oh, that would have been so nice.
But now we got a 2-seat majority where Chip Roy and Thomas Massey and Victoria Sparks, they could just derail everything. Like, that's the biggest problem we have now. The Republican majority, it's 2 or 3 House seats. You have to get everyone on board.
Yeah, you have to convince the, ideology House Freedom Caucus people to be in agreement. You have to convince one libertarian to be in agreement, and you have to convince Waller and Bacon to also be in agreement with what the House Freedom Caucus people want, and that's gonna be fun. I think some of the more broader things we can figure out, but there are definitely going to be some more tensions coming around whenever we have to do our next continuing resolution.
Now, the funny part of all this is we may have to rely on Democrats to pass anything. That might be the worst part. There's rumors going around that you may see 2 Republican or Democrats flip. I cannot confirm that. That's a rumor.
Yeah, I heard that rumor. I think if that's going to happen, it would probably be, I think Culler is his name. I'm really bad with names. And Moskowitz, I think is how you pronounce that.
It would probably be Moskowitz or the other Gonzalez, I would say.
Yeah, it could be them.
But even then, it's like you have like Moskowitz is going to be he's going to be like a fake moderate these next 2 years. He wants to run for like governor, so it's like he's going to be a fake moderate. Same thing with the lady in Washington. That's like 4 or 5 House Democrats that you could actually think might be somewhat moderate. Which, I'm not saying they're going to vote in line with Republicans half the time, but when we need to get something done, we might be able to get a couple of them to just vote for it, because they kind of have to at this point if they want to survive politically.
Yeah. And you also have to consider what their future goals are going to be. Like, I think if Moskowitz suddenly picks up a, quote, moderate voting record, he's almost certainly going to run for governor.
I think he's running. I think he's going to run for governor, personally.
I don't know what... I don't care as much of what the Democrats are doing down here in Florida, purely because I already know what the result's going to be. It's going to be anywhere from R+8 to R+14, depending on the specifics, which means it's so over for Democrats in Florida, which I love about this state.
Well, there's an article that came out. House Democrats are like, yeah, it's just over. It's just over in Florida. We're going to get killed the next, 30 years here.
Yeah, they will be. I mean, I think Florida Political Enjoyer on Twitter, Florida is expected to possibly gain as many as 4 more seats for the 2030 cycle, and you can make like a third. What is it? It's currently 28, so you can make like a 28-4 Republican leading seat, because we also down here in Florida, our Supreme Court is possibly taking a look at the amendments we have relating to gerrymandering and have signaled kind of, hey, we might toss those, which would mean we can get seriously brutal down here. You can already make like a 24-4 2024 map for Republicans, so we can do some crazy stuff down here.
The worst part for Dems is is there any part of Florida that's running Democrat? Like any significant part?
Jacksonville. That's the only part, but it's really not hard to split Jacksonville into two and have two really red seats.
Yeah, and even then, it's like it's not trending that Democrat, really. Yeah,
It kind of is. You also have Seminole County, but it's tough to say until we get one more election cycle. Like, I think once it's Vance versus Harris or whatever it's going to be,
please pick Harris.
and
Please pick
I
Harris.
want them to pick Harris too. No, Democrat voters don't blame Harris for the loss, which was perfect. But once, because I think Vance is like going to be the next step of America First of MAGA.
Well, yeah, he's the nominee. I don't
Once we see the trends, because if you remember during this cycle, a lot of favorability polls towards the end actually had Vance. Out of the five big people, Biden, Trump, Harris, Waltz, Vance was consistently the most like favorable out of all of those people. So it kind of depends. Do the suburbs just hate Trump, or do they hate America First? And I think we'll find that out during Vance's first run for president. If they all continue trending left like beasts, except South Atlanta. South Atlanta 100% is demographics. There's no changing that. But other places like Seminole County, traditional Republican areas that have become purple since Trump's time, if they vote for Vance, then they just disliked Trump a lot. If they continue going blue or continue staying purple, then it's definitely nail and coffin realignment on those, and we'll work with what we get.
Yeah, that's be curious. Like if Vance actually just runs it up those counties, like he gets. I'm not saying to get bushel Fort margins in these areas, but like Waukesha County, Wisconsin. You know, if he gets like 62% here, I mean that's not good for Dems. At that point, like they can't win an election at that point. If Vance is just slightly better in the suburbs and holds on to the Trump coalition, which I think he will, mostly, I don't see how Democrats they really can win. I'm not trying to like say Democrats can never win again, but like.
But in the short term, they're in trouble because Vance, he had everyone says, oh, it was such a bad performance in Iowa. I mean, he went up against, I think, literally the best candidate the Ohio Democrats could produce ever. Tim Ryan had the vibes, the record, the money to be an S-tier candidate. And then Vance was a guy who no one had ever heard of before the primary, realistically. He was really unknown in politics, and he still won by almost the same as Trump did. And in fact, if you look at the swing map for Vance winning in 22, he performed better than Trump in the suburbs and the cities and did about the same / slightly worse in rurals. Which kind of makes sense because it was a midterm, but it goes to show that Vance being a very, very smart, very articulate dude lets him win over those suburbs type of people while still voting and being America First. Yeah,
I 100% agree with what you're saying. I mean, the question is, though, like, can that really translate to the presidential level? Because it is a Senate race, and people could argue, well, that was the Senate race in 2022, so it could be a bit misleading. But yeah, I mean, I think we'll know in 28. If these areas just start shifting heavy to the right, except like Atlanta, like you said, if these areas like have a sudden shift to the right,
it was a Trump problem.
Yeah, it was a Trump thing.
Which I get why there was, I get why the boomer Republican did not exactly love Trump, but if it's purely just a Trump issue, then the Republicans will have a really good coalition presidentially for a while longer, which is something I would love to have. Our midterms still might be piss poor, but it is what it is.
Yeah, but I think we're gonna know. I think even in 2025, I think we're gonna know some of the suburb stuff because Trump's off the ballot and he's not gonna run again. So maybe there's some revision here and there, but of course it is a low turnout race. We all know those don't translate at all. Like the Democrats, they bank their entire prediction on Harris winning on the fact that they're doing better in special elections.
Yeah,
so it's like you gotta be careful. But I do think we'll know like a good idea, I should say, if this was really just a Trump thing or not. But we'll see. We'll see in 2025, 26, and of course 28. That's gonna be the biggest indicator.
Yeah, that will be the biggest. But I think there'll be a lot we can glean from 26 as well, especially in House seats. You know, Democrats have a lot of like suburban-ish seats that they have to both defend and win, that they're going to be targeting hard. And it will be interesting to see how that works out, I think, because we're going to have really low, because we have a low propensity voting base right now, and a voting base that likes Trump and doesn't necessarily like the down ballot GOP. And it's going to be interesting to see how bad that's going to be in 26. I think Trump might be fine-ish. I don't think he'll have, I don't think it's going to be a massive blue wave unlike 2018, mostly because I think Trump will generally be far more popular during his second term than he was his first term. So I'm very interested to see the results. You know,
Yeah,
I think there is a world, just because of how many Trump down ballot Dem seats there is a world potentially, especially if Trump remains popular, that we could still be at 220 afterwards, which I would kill to see. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it'll be 225-ish Dems, and we'll still retain the Senate. But there's a needle that could be threaded potentially, but that would also require, as we said earlier, all those R+30, middle, rural, southern Republicans to give their money to candidates who can actually win, instead of blowing $2 million against a Democrat who spent $10,000.
I think it comes down to his approval. If he's actually, relatively speaking, popular in 26, I'm not saying Republicans for sure keep the House, but Democrats at best to give a 10, maybe a 5 to 10 seat majority at best.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be nowhere near as brutal as 2018. Trump will almost certainly be more popular, and I think a lot of GOP candidates will run closer to Trump, especially seeming how every year we weed out more and more people who aren't running a Trump agenda, which I think will help them convince the Trump rural voters and the newly on board Trump Hispanic voters to get involved and actually vote for the GOP down ballot.
I still have my doubts because this is the Republican Party we're talking about.
Yeah, maybe being too hopeful on that side of that side.
I mean, I hope that they actually learn. I think they'll learn a little bit, but they're still going to take the wrong lessons. They're going to think, oh, this is because Hispanics are just shifted Republican because we're Republican. No, they shifted Trump. And they might have voted Republican here and there, but not because they like you. Just because they support Trump and they support his agenda. They want to get it through.
Yeah, we had in FL09, the Osceola County district, we nominated kind of a generic white guy, and he underran Trump by 10 points. It wasn't even particularly close, but the district itself was only Harris +1. And there were two Hispanic guys who I think either of them, they would have ran closer with Trump, and I think either of those guys could have gotten the race way closer. So that's another thing, is I think the GOP needs to be more, I don't want to say they have to pick Hispanic guys like that, but I think they need to understand that while trust is developing with Hispanics and the GOP, to not overlook those type of candidates. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and I think that Republicans just got to pick better candidates in these areas. Areas that pick people that actually represent these voters. Don't 100%. Pick the generic white guy because he says he's not going to be racist. That's not how you win these voters. They care about policy. They don't care about some pandering BS.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm going for. Thank you for wording that a bit better than I did.
Well, no, it's and at the same time, don't pick someone that's Hispanic or African American just because they're Hispanic or African American. That always ends in a disaster. Pick someone that's actually good. Look at, what's her name in Maryland? Klasik?
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce that, but yeah, I know who you're talking about.
It's she spent, it was I think $50 million in a Biden plus 50 seats? And she lost by 40. It's downtown Baltimore.
It's ridiculous. And that's another thing is the GOP needs to stop falling for grifter candidates like that. We weren't too bad this cycle. I think whoever ran against like AOC or Pelosi did not raise that much money compared to previous cycles, which is nice to see.
But 2020 still haunts me with the one in Maryland is Klasick, and the one in California that runs against Waters. I think he spent like $20 million as well.
You know, I'm glad the Democrats also have that problem occasionally, like the guy who ran against MTG, who spent millions and millions when the Dems could have used that nearly anywhere else. But
they probably lost House because of that.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah, but Republicans have a much bigger problem. It's kind of better, though, because I think some people are waking up to these people a little bit. But still, just do your research. Do not give money to a Kimberly Klasick type in Maryland. Don't do that.
You can always go to our website and check out our endorsement section. Those are good America First candidates. gotta shill it. But let's move on to the next segment that I wanted to. This isn't as segmented as I thought it would be, but our next segment I want to kind of discuss is what are you hoping to see in like the second Trump term?
So I do have some concerns right now, like nothing like, oh, it's the end of the world like some people are panicking about, but I have legitimate concerns over immigration, especially when it comes to H-1B visa stuff, which that's a whole can of worms. I'm worried because the way Trump is talking, Musk and Ramaswamy are pushing their crap, and he's falling for it. That's my concern right now, that he's falling for this is actually a good system we got. No. And for anyone that doesn't know, look up the H-1B visa drama, and people have dug into it. It's like, we're giving these visas to like plumbers, to cooks, to pickleball directors. It's like, that's not the point of these visas, and that's my concern, that Trump's gonna fall for it and not actually reform it like he should, like he has the power to.
Yeah, no, I feel that concern, but at the same time, you know, Trump has a habit of talking because he said the same stuff in 2016, and he said similar stuff in 2020. You know, in 2016, he was all, we're going to staple green cards to people who graduate from our colleges, and it never happened.
That's the thing
that is what reassures me a lot, is that Miller is back where he was, and Homan is also in a position to give border policy advice, and that fills me with a lot of confidence that I think Miller will generally just kind of do what he needs to do with immigration, because he's excellent on immigration.
Yeah, yet Stephen Miller is in a great position. I'm thankful that he's back there, and you got Tom Homan, the border czar, who is again amazing at his job.
Yep, and I think Kristi Noem being in charge of the Department of Homeland Security will. I think ultimately she was picked because she will just say yes to the advisors who will actually run it, and Miller and Homan don't have to go through Senate confirmation.
That's what I heard. Apparently, it's basically Tom Homan running it. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, because I don't think the Senate. I think we have too many people who would be like, no, this is unacceptable. These guys can't be, running our immigration. Give us the huddled poor or whatever poem. And I think Trump just didn't want to deal with that.
Yeah, you got to be bloodfest still in the Senate. So.
Yeah, which the Senate's a different topic for one of these days.
Though I do think with Thune, I can't believe I'm saying this. I think Thune's be actually pretty good, considering, but we'll see. I got hope.
I'll give Thune a chance. We're launching the Senate scorecard for this cycle because I didn't want to do it for the 118th Congress because they were in the minority, which means it was just meaningless to vote anything. But I'll give Thune a chance. But some stuff I do want to see from the Trump term, going back there, I think I definitely want to see how we're going to handle deportations. That's something I definitely want to see. I'm also pretty interested in Doge to see if we can actually get the budget cuts that the Republicans have been talking about since like the Bush era. And we have not done anything even close to it since the Bush era, and even then we didn't do it during Bush. So, I think Vivek and Elon, they're bad on immigration. I'll just say they are bad on immigration. But I think they can be good at finding waste, getting rid of it, and good business deregulations.
That's
Just
what I
not
like.
immigration-related deregulations.
Yeah, that's why like Ramaswamy and Musk, I trust them on the government side. I think they'll do a good job at Doge. I'm just concerned that they're kind of going too far on like the immigration stuff. That's like you're not hired for that, dude. You're there for the Doge to fix the government spending and the waste, which I think is to be successful.
I hope so.
Just for the simple fact that even if you don't get everything through, I think because they're gonna put so much publicity on this stuff, people are gonna really realize how bad it is. Like how much money we're spending on squirrels on cocaine or whatever. It's like, and that's not even a joke. Like it was like a study on squirrels on cocaine or something like that. It's just like that's where our government's spending money on. It's like, and not enough people know that. So that's what I'm saying. Even if we don't get everything, it's gonna make people realize, oh wait a minute, we actually have a lot of waste here. We gotta cut it.
Yeah, no, and I think that's where Doge will be its biggest success, and that's why Doge isn't like, an official position. It's going to be an outside advisory kind of thing, but it will be, even like you said, if it fails to actually get these things kind of passed, I think it'll reignite a desire for the GOP to actually cut stuff for once. I would like to see the deficit go down during a Trump administration because it would just feel nice. Even though we're not going to clean it up, it would just feel nice to have that being dealt with a little bit.
Just stabilize it. You can't let it keep growing like it is.
Yeah, it's becoming too much. I'm also very excited to see whatever Trump can do with tariffs and whatnot in our manufacturing section.
I was going to bring up the whole tax thing because I think he might be serious about getting rid of the income tax, which I don't think that has the votes right now. Like, I don't think he has a vote to get rid of the income tax, but if he can like replace a large chunk of it with tariffs, I think that'll be a win.
That would increase his approval so much. Imagine everyone in the country was suddenly bringing home, even 5% more on their paychecks. That would make everyone just feel so much more comfortable and everything. I'm blessed to be in a state with zero state income tax.
Yeah. It's like when it comes to tariffs, though, like I'm not saying have a universal 30% tariff. Like some people are panicking about that. That's not what Trump's going to do. What Trump's going to do is he's going to go to each country and say, okay, are you screwing us over? If you are, here's a tariff, unless you fix your crap. That's what he's going to do.
Yes, they're a bargaining chip first and foremost. Like when he threatens blanket tariffs on countries, that's bargaining chips. The real tariffs will be specifically manufactured to help our industries. I actually wrote an article on this today, the libertarian argument for tariffs, and that's where some of the opposition from the right comes from tariffs, is they argue, oh, this is government intervention, when really it's more of leveling the floor for free market, because free markets operate under the condition where everyone has a similar starting floor or follows similar rules. And the global economy does not facilitate that. The global economy is not a free market. Everyone follows different rules, thus everyone's playing different markets. And tariffs can help mitigate that. And that's what's going to keep our steel industry more alive, would be tariffs, because then China's slave labor, 2 cents an hour, whatever steel mills will be, they'll be brought up to similar expenses as our steel mills, which means our steel mills, our jobs, our people can continue living life, which is important.
That's just a basic argument. If you don't have tariffs, you can't really compete with China or India. You just can't.
No one can. No one in this world can compete with slave labor, essentially.
It's literally, it's 1 billion slaves. Like, you can't compete against that. And, like, every day they have, like, a new factory built. Every second there's a new factory. It's like, you can't really compete with that as America. You just can't. So you need tariffs. You need policy that incentivize being here in America. And that's why I think tariffs are just, it's common sense. Ignore the whole, like, how much money it brings in. It's just common sense to level out the playing field for our companies.
Yeah, which then, and once companies are on a level playing field where they aren't, arguing who has the nicer regulations so they can make stuff cheaper, it then forces them to go back to best quality stuff, which is what, that's why consumers win in a free market, is when it's when the focus on the companies, we have to make the best quality instead of any other thing, So
Well, obviously, companies gotta get profit, but like what's happening now is just ridiculous. It's penny pinching to the extreme,
yeah,
and that's gotta stop.
we'll do an episode on stock market economics, penny pinching companies at some point. I think
That's one I want to talk about because it is ridiculous how bad it is.
I have controversial takes there as a right wing individual. But other stuff I'm excited to see is I don't know if Trump's going to continue on his tech crusade as much, because we know like Zuckerberg was there. I mean, Elon now owns Twitter, which is pretty big. But I hope that we can continue seeing maybe some antitrust actions, especially against I think Google.
They got to go to Google. That's
too much. It's too much. I also think Amazon is too much, but I don't think anyone's going to do anything against Amazon for a while.
I think Google's more of a threat, honestly.
Like, yeah, well, controlling information is more important than being able to produce, 50-cent Amazon branded boom mics or whatever.
Yeah, it's like that's my concern. Like more with like Google, they control the information. It's like, yeah, probably not a good idea to have one company control the information like that. But I don't think Trump's going to like target big tech as much. Just for the simple fact it does seem that the tech industry is like out of the blue becoming best friends with him again. So
I don't know if they're like out of the blue becoming best friends. I think what really probably started driving them towards the GOP, and this is why I think tech bros in general have joined the GOP, rather than a lot of them were kind of supporting the Dems in a 2020 sort of. Is the fact that the GOP, not only does the GOP offer deregulation, which they like, but I think the biggest driving force is Trump and the GOP is overtly pro-crypto. And that matters a lot to these guys. And the Democrats will not embrace cryptocurrency because it's too freeing, I guess you could say.
I never thought about the crypto stuff. That's a big deal for a lot of people.
Let's think about it. You're a tech bro. Your net worth is 100 million, and you have 10 million in cryptocurrency or whatever. And one party is saying, "Hey, we're going to deregulate cryptocurrency. We're going to keep it and embrace it, thus making it worth way more." That's probably like a huge reason to support that party, like on a personal level. Which, of course, everyone votes on personal interests, and I think that's a huge reason behind the tech bros joining. I don't think it's anything else other than the GOP is willing to be pro crypto and the Democrats are not.
Yeah, and another thing I'm kind of like hopeful or curious about is how Trump responds in foreign policy, especially with the whole war in the Middle East, because theoretically the war should end soon, I'm guessing, like the war in Israel, theoretically, but how will Trump actually deal with it? That's my question, because we don't really know, because that's Trump's foreign policy. You don't know what he's going to do until he does it.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what makes his foreign policy so strong on the global stage. Is foreign policy, there are two ways to take it. You can either take a realist approach, like I do, and you kind of need to know what a country's motives are, how they're going to react to certain situations. If you understand a country's history and their needs and wants in the moment, it's a lot easier to see their plays. The whole special military operation in Ukraine kind of is far less shocking if you knew the history between the countries and what each country wants. Or you can go the Trump route, which Trump is just whatever he wants, kind of.
Well, yeah,
and it makes him unpredictable, which makes every other country afraid. With Biden, Putin, Iran, Gaza, everyone knew how Biden and the U.S. swamp operates. They know exactly what's going to happen. I guarantee Putin already had everything written down that was going to happen when he did what he did. Against Trump, he wouldn't know. And if you don't know your opponent's moves, you can't really go forward with it. you
It's a
know?
madman theory. You literally, like, Trump, you don't know, like, with Israel and Palestine, this is Trump in a nutshell. He's either going to nuke Palestine or do, like, actually get the peace deal through. That's him. You don't know.
Exactly.
You don't
And he
know.
continues with that because half of his foreign policy cabinet are like kind of war hawk people, and the other half are realist, peaceful doves. And
Yeah.
you don't know who he's going to be listening to on that particular day. So other foreign countries really have to like step back and talk to the guy rather than do what they do right now, which is ignore Biden, ignore everything. I mean, we have Houthi rebels in Yemen or whatever blocking trade in the Red Sea and just doing whatever they want because the US is such a joke right now on a world stage.
Yeah, I mean, and Trump probably going to bomb the shit out of them. You don't know.
And he'll do it right.
Trump.
That's another difference.
Yeah,
Is
that's
when
another thing.
Trump operates as a hawk in certain situations, he does it right. If you go back to when he bombed Soleimani or whatever in Iran, what the swamp would have done is just bomb some random crap, maybe like an airport with no one in it, and then called it a day. Trump did not do that. He took out a major player and said, "Come at us and see what happens." And guess what? Iran just kind of had to go, "I'm sorry, America. I didn't mean to."
Because every country knows they if you have a smart person in the White House, you can't compete against America. You just can't.
Yeah, but we don't right now, so they can
we have
take
an incompetent
advantage of it.
Dumbass. And we're talking about like possibly bombing Iran. It's like right before Trump's supposed to get in office. It's like, what are we doing? Why? And that's a foreign policy without Trump. It's just a bunch of garbage like that. Like, we're gonna bomb Iran for whatever reason. It's like, what are we doing? What's the point?
Yeah, no, that's another thing. I think Trump will probably be able to stabilize a lot of sections of the world. I think he can stop the Houthi rebels. I think he can stop Palestine, Israel, and I think at least a door to negotiations will actually open up in Russia, Ukraine as well. And, everyone in the world wants a nice, peaceful world because no one actually likes war. And Trump is the only guy in America that can deliver it. No one else can. Not even close, And that's going to be the sad part once he's out of office is I don't even know if Vance can do the madman theory like Trump can.
I don't know. Vance will be there for 4 years learning, so that's the one.
He better be taking notes on how to deal with Kim Jong-un, how to deal with Putin, and whatnot.
Like, just don't bomb a country because you can. Just do whatever. Just do whatever Trump would do, which is just flip a coin, basically. That's Trump. Just flips a coin, probably, and you can't do anything to him.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's a once in a lifetime foreign policy, and I love it. But yeah, other things that we want to see during the Trump second admission. Anything else you want to add to that?
I'm curious to see what he does with the space program.
Yes. I want to go back to the moon. I want to go back to Mars, or I want to go to Mars and stuff. Because a big thing I think about Trump, and especially during the 250th anniversary, is he has a real chance to help reignite national pride. And a lot of young people, and I think that's why like Vivek, for example, was really popular among turning point sections where it's a lot of young Republicans, is Vivek did a lot of talking about national spirit, national pride, because that's something I think young people, especially young guys, want, is to be part of something bigger. And when you don't have patriotism, you don't have a national spirit or whatever, it's hard to find something like that. And I would love to be like amazingly proud of America. I'll always be proud of America, but when you have someone like Biden in office and you have the left with all the stuff they do with culture, it's hard to really be that prideful of America. But if we go back to the moon, we go to Mars, we have the insane World Fair that he wants. He's also going to be in charge of the Olympics and I think a World Cup as well.
Yeah, World Cup. Everything.
We can have some serious national pride where those events will be all about America and stuff, rather than, if you watch the French Olympics, if I was French, I would be ashamed,
I would have started a revolution again. That was pathetic.
That was sad. And Harris would have done the same thing, you know.
Oh, worse.
The greatest thing, and honestly the biggest reason I needed Trump to win, was our 250th anniversary is coming up, and had Harris been in charge of it, it would have been shaming white men, shaming our founders, and it would have been uplifting people who do not deserve to be uplifted.
Yeah.
And now I can enjoy the 250th anniversary. Hopefully he does the World Fair thing in Iowa. I am already saving money for whatever big events are happening that year, because that's just going to be a good time, I think.
It's a mid-roll ad. I don't have much to advertise, but go ahead and check out AmericaFirstInsight.com, along with Real American on YouTube.
But yeah, I think that's why Vivek was so well liked during the turning point stuff, is national pride, and I think Trump will be able to deliver a lot of it during his term, and that might be the best reason that Trump wins and whatnot, you know.
Yeah, I'm really hoping he actually does the World Fair. I really hope he does.
I really want the World's Fair, and also I really want him to bring a military parade for July 4th. You know, because I know those are typically visually identified with like authoritarian regimes, but I think I think they probably boost recruitment rates. I don't know if there's data behind that, but I would imagine seeing a bunch of tanks and people marching like that probably makes the army look appealing, rather than the current army strategy to get new individuals. And oh god, our army. Also, I hope Trump and Hegseth.
I think they're gonna fix that.
They need to fix it. So many generals need to go. My dad used to be in the military, and he knew a couple of the current like big generals before they were big generals, when they were lower rank, and he has had nothing positive to say about any interaction.
These people are incompetent. It's like not ignoring like the strategies for a second they implement, which is not, they've done nothing good the last like 20 years. But it's like these idiots, they think the way to recruit people is bash white people.
Exactly.
That's literally their strategy. And then when they need recruitment, they actually like out of nowhere start these recruitment ads with like a bunch of white people.
Yeah, no. And I also think that Trump will, at some federal level, push to end DEI, and I think that'll be so important.
You can't, for the military especially, you can't focus on that crap of the military.
100%.
Like national defense.
And I think it will also help our businesses thrive a lot more. I think every industry could benefit from more focus on merits and less focus on, you know, DEI related stuff. Every industry, from video games to manufacturing, all of them, you know, retailers to LCAM managers to whatever, banks probably, they all could really benefit from like a national ban on it or whatever needs to happen. Because
just
I think
racism.
That's
what they're gonna do. Ban racism and sexism.
Basically they need to focus on the merits, and every company would be more profitable. You'll have better employees, you'll have better work environments and everything. And that's something else I really want to see.
Yeah, the DEI stuff, they gotta ban that. It's literally racism.
I don't know if it needs to go through the Supreme Court. I don't know. There should be enough votes to end it in our Congress and our Senate, because it's ridiculous.
I wouldn't rely on John Curtis and Murkowski, so...
You know, John Curtis actually was, during the 118th Congress, he was the best had the best voting record out of every Utah Republican.
Wait,
so we didn't.
Mike Lee? Really?
Well, I didn't rank. Senate
I guess
people.
you didn't. The Senate,
yeah. So out of all the House people, it could have been worse. It could have been better, but it could have been worse. So I'll take.
I don't trust John Curtis. I just don't trust the guy.
We have bigger problems in Murkowski. I think Murkowski will go independent before 2028.
Yeah, she's the fact that we saved her like 3 times. Now this is getting ridiculous. What's the appeal to her? What?
The only fascinating thing about Murkowski is that she won a write-in campaign for Senate, which was unbelievable. I can't even fathom how you do that, but no, she needs to go. She's a Democrat. She'll probably be my worst ranked Senate Republican. I can already probably guarantee it.
Yeah, it's gonna be her. I mean,
I'll give Collins. Collins is our patriotic rhino, because when it comes to like worst case scenarios and we're at 49 votes, Collins typically comes through, but Murkowski would never.
Yeah, Collins is an actual team player. She knows when it's like, okay, I literally can't vote for this if I want to survive. And it's like, we need stuff passed. She will support it, though. We absolutely need it.
I think I remember reading an article in like 2022 where she's like, yeah, I might vote for Trump again. I might not, and it's like, at least she understands the game that she has being in the state of Maine and being the Republican candidate. She understands what she needs to say. You either play blissful ignorance and just say, maybe I'll go that way, maybe I won't, or you just straight up say, you gotta hide what your true intentions are, I guess, in that scenario, kind of.
Yeah, I think though, like Murkowski she's got to go. Collins I can live with. I think she's good enough. I think she's better than some people actually think she is. Personally,
she is. I think there'll probably be a Republican other than Murkowski below Collins. I don't know who yet, but we'll figure that out when we get there. Todd Young is also a criminally underhated guy.
In Indiana, we got this bozo. It's like, what are we doing? You have Republicans in Indiana and Oklahoma that have like crap records. Why? Shouldn't these be some of those conservative senators? Meanwhile, you have Collins out here actually having a better record at times with these idiots.
Yeah, I think we'll also do an episode on why deep red state GOPs are just atrocious. We'll throw that in at some point.
A lot of episodes to do.
Yeah, we do. Well, hey, I'm hoping to get 52 of these out this year, so we'll better start filling up the calendar book with ideas. But I think that could be the segue to kind of ending this first episode.
Yeah, I think that's everything for we want to talk about.
So, like I said, we are planning hopefully 52 episodes this year. We'll see. Maybe we do more. Maybe we do less. About 52. We'll have special guests. We actually already have some people lined up. I won't say their names until the episodes come out, just in case schedules change. But we do have guests coming, and it's going to be us two every episode. Some guests occasionally talking about modern politics and whatnot. As soon as the GOP is actually in power, we'll have plenty more to talk about as we also get ratings and stuff.
We're having a lot of trouble this week. Like the certification, the speakership stuff, it's going to be a mess the next week.
Yeah, next week should hopefully be, you know what? If Johnson goes through 14 ballots, we will have so much content to talk about next week.
Yeah.
So,
and the Electoral College is certifying, I think, next Monday. So.
Yes, I think it certifies on the 6th. And
yeah.
We will.
Very interesting day.
See.
Very interesting day.
But yeah, so thank you, Real, for being here, and thank you to everyone who is listening. If you want to do one more shill for your stuff, you can go ahead and do so.
Of course, follow me on @RealPData on Twitter, Real Political Data. My YouTube is Real American. Just follow me there if you want to see up-to-date stuff from me. So, and also, of course, make sure to follow America First Insight on Twitter. Doing a quick shill for America First Insight. So.
Yeah, it's @AF_Insight because the name was too long. But also make sure you go check out our website. Go ahead, check out our shop, our store, our endorsement lists. Hopefully soonish we should be having data coming in that we can actually start updating the election 2024 stuff to the election 2025 and 2026 stuff, like Virginia governor, New Jersey governor, and whatever else. And yeah, we should be good to go, I think.
Yeah, I think that's everything. I don't think we missed anything.
I don't think so. We talked for quite a while. So thank you once again, everyone, for listening, and have a wonderful day.
For the ride, catch you next time, same place, same vibe. We're signing off, but don't you stray. America's voice every day. Keep it real, keep it bold. Stories shared and truth retold.